wise God. Father, this morning, oh God, we thank you, oh God, for this present time, dear God. As you raise us up to see the morning rising sun, dear God. And Father, for keeping us through the night which fast and gone. Even from our cradle days until this present time, dear God. Father God, you have provided, oh God, Heavenly Father, that we can say, thank you, Lord. And for your continued blessing in spite of, dear God, but because of who you are, we stand firm before you, God, to represent you in your cause, dear God. And Father God, as our leadership, dear God, continue, oh God, to be in the forefront, dear God. May we continue, oh God, to support as we go along this journey, dear God. Not for ourselves, dear God, for the benefit of our children, our communities, our companies, and our country, dear God. As we struggle, dear God, Father, the voice of ours is the voice of all, dear God. As we seek for equal bread and justice for all. Father God, if we fail, dear God, today, dear God, a lot in the future will fail, dear God. So we must prevail going forward, Father God. We thank you, God, for the President General, dear God. And we have to continue to guide him, dear God. Continue to guide him, dear God, in spite of, dear God, the circumstances and challenges that may face, dear God. Keep, oh God, the blood of your Son around him, dear God, and around his executive team, dear God, that we may stay focused on the matters of hand, dear God, that we will not be caught up in party politics, dear God, but understand that we have a responsibility as the Oil Field Workers Trade Union, 80 plus years old. And Father God, we will continue, God, to move for the mass movement of the people, dear God. We will speak for those who can't speak for themselves, dear God. We will stand in the gap for those who are not the different, dear God. And Father God, again, you know, for those who are not here today, dear God, we ask that you keep them, you watch over them, dear God. And we ask that we continue to fight the good fight, going forward ever, backward never. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, members of the media. Good morning to you, good morning to everybody, and welcome. Thanks for coming to cover what we consider to be a very critical statement and queries in the history of the Petroleum Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I want to start, first of all, this brief statement this morning by pointing to a recent memoranda of agreement, an MOA that we had with essentially the OWTU and the board of directors of the Petroleum Company of Trinidad and Tobago. And this MOA was signed on the 3rd of April this year. And it sets out, among other things, a way forward in terms of the reorganization, restructuring of Petrotrin, but that it gives the unions, the recognized majority union, the OWTU, its full hand of cooperation with the board of directors to ensure that Petrotrin's restructuring becomes a success, and therefore that success transcend to the benefit of the stakeholders who are the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We always hold the view that if Petrotrin fails, the people of this country would lose. And therefore, when Petrotrin succeeds, and its success will only come on the basis of the contribution of the workers and the union working with a like-minded board and government, when the result of that effort comes in, the people will benefit. And therefore, we agreed that the recognized majority union, the OWTU, will work with the board to restructure the company. And we said that we are going to divide the company into 4 main areas: Trinma, and the marine aspect of the company's operation, land north and east, refining and marketing, and of course, we separated the Augustus Long Hospital as a separate entity to be operated efficiently so that the workers and all of those persons who now seek medical attention, they can benefit. And we signed on to that agreement. And when we made the announcement, we said that we want the politicians, we want the government, we want that Minister of Finance, the Minister of Energy, one Smiley Franklin Can, and one minister in the office of the Prime Minister, one Stuart Young, the entire squad headed by their Prime Minister to keep their hands off the effort to restructure Petrotrade, owing to the fact that we would have agreed to commit ourselves to this endeavor. But no sooner than later, in a matter of just a few days ago, we would have received information that the long, invisible, but powerful hand of the government and its agent, the Ministry of Energy, and other names which we will identify a bit later on in this discourse here this morning, they are not only interfering, but they are entering into an arrangement, which arrangement is questionable at best, but certainly will be inimical to the interests of the company and, of course, for the negative benefit of the people of this country. So while on the one hand, they want Petrotrade to be restructured and to be efficient, on the other hand, this government is interfering in the restructuring. Now, let me just say one thing before I go any further. We have committed wholeheartedly to this restructuring. We said that we will struggle and fight against anyone who seek to destroy this agreement, and by that destruction, destroy Petrotrade, and that position has not changed. We intend to take whatever action necessary against those who are with the intent, the corrupt intent, the questionable intent of overriding the work that we're supposed to do. And let's get to what this example today is. And this is just one area. And we suspect if they have their way with this area, they will be coming in every single facet of this reorganization effort. In the refining and marketing division, which is one of the 4 areas that we agreed to, we're going to look at what is best for that operation. We have not had an opportunity as yet to determine what is the structure, what is the nature of the operation, what part of that operation will be operated in manners that would allow for the technical expertise of the comrades and workers there to be at their best so that we can have the refinery functioning at optimum. We have not been allowed that opportunity to reorganize or to restructure that area as yet. But what we are hearing, what we got word of, is that the government and Corporation Seoul is moving swiftly behind the scenes to sell off or to give away a particular asset of the refinery. And let me go to that controversial part of the refinery, and that is, it is described as the controversial WGTL. Now, let me just give a quick recap as to how that WGTL came into being. This WGTL, World Gas to Liquid plant, an agreement was entered into sometime around 2005 by Petrotrade with the WGTL to construct this facility at the Pointe-à-Pierre refinery, with Petrotrade owning some 49% and WGTL owning 51%. And the project envisaged that WGTL would bring the gas to liquid plant. To that plant, the technology, the finances, the project management, and Petrotrin would contribute sufficient gas reserve to assure the plant's operation. The parties, both parties, were shareholder in a company formed, that's the WGTL, set up to execute the project. And as you know, as fate would have had it, from inception, the OWTU would have advised, strongly advised, condemned the Petrotrin entering into this arrangement, and predicted from upfront that that WGTL project would have been a failure. And so said, so done, unfortunately. And that we were saying at that time that the company should focus all of its resources, the majority of these resources that they would have expended for this project, in the reactivation of a very lucrative field in southwest Soldado that's offshore Trend Mine Point 40. And therefore, our position was that if that was done, we would have been able to produce more indigenous crude, which would have required the company to purchase less foreign crude, which would have allowed for the company, Petrotrin, to make a bigger profit margin. That has been our position then. It continues to be our position. But we were vindicated with the unfortunate reality that the plant it went into quite a significant number of problems with its construction, a number of problems with the environmental agencies giving clearances for the construction of the project itself, and a host of problems with contractors and subcontractors, which resulted in the plant incurring a lot of cost overruns and therefore its ultimate failure. The plant itself was situated in a part of the refinery which caused a lot of interruption with our own refinery operation, in that it was situated upwind a number of operating plants in the refinery, and therefore it impacted the smooth functioning of the day-to-day operation of the refinery. Because in its construction phase, in that failed attempt, we had a number of shutdowns owing to a number of emissions and a number of emissions coming from that particular area that was designated as WGTL. They were given exclusive right in the company's operation, in that part of the company's acreage, in the refinery, to build and to operate against the best advice of this very experienced 80-year-old Alphys Workers Trade Union. Now, having failed to complete this plant, the plant, there was a number of problems with WGTL and Petrotrin. WGTL would have taken Petrotrin to court, and you would recall, your research should have you recall that they took, that's WGTL now, would have taken Petrotrin to International Court of Arbitration, suing Petrotrin for some US $200 million. And WGTL, in their statement of claim, noted that it was seeking damages in the excess of $200 million for breaches of fiduciary duties it claimed Petrotrin owed them, because they claimed that there has been a joint venture with Petrotrin for the construction of this plant, which Petrotrin did not live up to its part of that bargain. Well, in its response, Petrotrin claimed that there was a breach of contract, and in its judgment released on April 24th in London Court of International Arbitration, that those claims were dismissed. So WGTL suing Petrotrin for its breach of fiduciary responsibilities and so on. And well, that claim was dismissed. And that is after all of this money was spent for the construction of the plant. I want to quote from one Fitzroy Harewood responding to a question raised at the Joint Select Committee of Parliament in the 21st of the 3rd, 2016. And here's what he had to say when questioned about WGTL. And I quote, Petrotrin would have entered into this GTL project agreement in 2005 with the intent that we would have established in conjunction with the World Gas to Liquid Limited at the time through a 49-51 partnership in favor of 49% for Petrotrin. In 2006, he went on, in 2006, the expectation would have been that the facility would have started its construction and the project would have kicked off. And the estimate then would have suggested that the order of the magnitude for the plant would have been around 165 million. 165 million, if you will, for the project cost. And that would have involved equity participation by the two partners as well as a loan to get the facility going. As time went on, however, the project became delayed and the project costs escalated. And there were issues related to the partner who was also involved in this project with Petrotrin, where there were concerns about the performance with the partner and that they were being able to come up with requirements for the projects. So they were concerned with them being able to come up with requirements for the projects. And Petrotrin subsequently took a decision to purchase the entire loan that was taken for the project. So let's understand, all throughout this project, Petrotrin would have been incurring costs. But he went on to say, as the project continued, it became very clear that the project became stranded and difficult, if you will, to finish it. This is Mr. Harewood talking. There was an attempt to basically say that the receiver, that we are at the stage where we will no longer attempt to try to fund this project and further finish its construction. And then, well, he said, and from my quote here, finally, on Mr. Fitzroy Harewood, the company's board at that time gave permission for the receiver to enter into negotiation with Nikon, who had a bid for the plant. These negotiations continued to the point where at a later stage the board in 2014 was able to make a decision about trying to conclude the negotiations at Nikon. Now, this is where the story gets more interesting. Nikon, and this is where we want to focus our attention, quite apart from all of this in Borneo with this plant. Nikon, a company that was formed in 2012 with absolutely no track record, was formed with the sole intent to purchase and operate WGTL. And I'm quoting from the Oil and Gas Year magazine. Nikon Energy Trinidad was established in 2012 to acquire WGTL charged assets in receivership. So that company was established exclusively with no track record at all, but was able to bid and be favored into what was described later on as an exclusivity agreement. Now, sometime subsequent to there, in 2014, sometime today being allowed to be formed and to have expressed interest and so on, and to have entered this exclusive agreement and arrangement, Petrotrin, it seems, would have invited other bids, and that really got Nikon upset to the level where they filed an injunction against Petrotrin, preventing them from inviting other bidders and so on. And I want to read from an article, Monday the 29th of July 2013, and this is taken from the Newsday. U.S. firm sues Petrotrin. And I quote, Nikon has alleged that despite there being an exclusive agreement in place, PwC and Petrotrin engaged other potential bidders, identified as Chinese-owned Beijing, and a number of Chinese firms here identified as being other bidders. And you could go to the article and visit it and see exactly what is said there. But they were claiming that they visited the plant on 2 occasions in 2012. And so as a result of that, having in its possession, according to information in this article, that an exclusivity agreement was in place for this particular company that was formed for the purchase of this WGTL plant. Now, it is mired in controversy from its start. And you would also know the year 2014. And you would also note who was the chairman of Petrotrin and the board of directors at that time. And I also want you to note that when that arrangement, an exclusive agreement, which we are yet to know what that was in place, this issue, this particular arrangement was criticized by the then PNM government. The then opposition leader, who today is Prime Minister, at that time, he criticized everything from Genesis to Exodus. Everything he criticized. He also criticized this. Because the question there was that, is it that Nikon is going to receive gas procured by Petrotrin to operate this plant at Petrotrin's cost? Is it that Petrotrin was going to give them free gas to operate this plant in some kind of exclusive arrangement that was not disclosed? And you see, up to recently, we have people entered into agreement and they're having it sealed. So back then, the PNM was criticizing the UNC and the partnership for entering into an arrangement with Nikon. Fast forward into 2018 now, where we have an agreement, that's the OWTU, to restructure Petrotrin, look at all of its assets, all of its manpower requirements and so on, all of the technical requirements, and to determine what steps we are going to take going forward. You have the same Nikon now, being favored by the PNM, who had then, at that time, criticized the partnership for entering into that arrangement. And it seems that it is more secret than secret itself this time around. Where this government does not disclose anything, you wake up one morning and you hear that the WGTL plant has been finally handed over in some sort of questionable arrangement to a company that was formed back then under the UNC, has now been granted full authority to own and to operate and to control this plant at a in a situation where this plant would have cost Petrotrin over some $400 million US over the period of time. So is it that they are now going to enter into this arrangement, because this is what we have gotten through the grapevine, enter into this arrangement, this sweetheart arrangement with NICOAN now, who seems to transcend all the different political parties. We continue to make the point that these quote-unquote people, friends of governments, transcend political parties as they come and go. They remain to have their interests served, so that the PNM who condemned them then now is supporting wholeheartedly the quote-unquote sale/giveaway of this facility, for which Petrotrin would have incurred over some $400 million US to this point. And what is the arrangement with respect to gas to be supplied to this firm, this company NICOAN? And if Petrotrin did not supply that gas, what is the liability to Petrotrin? What is this exclusivity arrangement that nobody knows anything about? Is Petrotrin guaranteeing free gas? Is Petrotrin going to purchase that gas from NGC? Petrotrin, who they say is cash-strapped at this time, enter into arrangement that is inimical to Petrotrin's fortune, where somebody else benefit again? And you see, we continue to make the point that these politicians, they seek only their friends' interests. We want you to examine who are the board, who are the members of the board of directors or the executive team of this company. I'm not going to call their names here. I will just tell you to check the website. Yeah? Check the website. Yeah? All those who like to sue. Yeah? This is not me saying that. Check the website. If you don't believe what we are saying, you do your own research. But the fundamental issue here is two things. One, the vast overreach of the powerful and invisible hand of the corporation soul and the government into the operations of Petrotrin. Is it that the board of directors is supporting this? Is it that the board of directors of Petrotrin, the Petrotrin board, is in agreement with this? And if so, why? And if not, why? Something is very fishy about this arrangement, and it is going to further plunge Petrotrin into more debt. Petrotrin is where it is today because of past and present government. Petrotrin is not where it is today on account of the workers. It is the workers and the union that saved Petrotrin that would allow them to thief. So look out. Another deal is going down right before our very eyes. And if the country, if we are not careful as citizens, you would have one Keith Rowley come not too long again and criticize Petrotrin, even as he has the responsibility for his government doing right for Petrotrin and for the citizens of this country. That is not the case as we speak. I want to make a point that we always make, that corruption and questionable deals and arrangements did not end
But do you think that plan could be put to use to make any type of profit or any viability of that plan?
Well, we are not sure at this point about the answers to that question. But for that to happen at any degree, that plant, the operators of that plant, the owners of that plant ought to be guaranteed gas. Where's this gas going to come from? And who will be responsible for purchasing and procuring, making sure, guaranteeing that gas? And is it that gas that is already scarce and cannot be made available in the volume that it is required for the Point Lisa's estate? For all of those companies up there that cries out for gas as we speak, because there is a curtailing of gas supply to that estate, is it that as they continue to experience curtailment in gas supply, NGC now is going to guarantee gas paid for by Petrotrin to this facility? That's a question. That's a question we are asking here. All of these issues we are raising here this morning, we are asking questions. We want to make the point. Because there are a lot of secrets covering this deal, and we are asking the questions. The PNM wouldn't ask this question, obviously.
You asked if the board of directors is aware of this. But if any asset of Petrotrin has to be sold, when they have to be signed off on it. And the board of directors, the ones put there by the politicians.
That is the point. We continue to maintain the view that the board of directors ought not to be operating at the whims and fancies of the politicians. It is that that caused Petrotrin to be the problem that it is in today. The politicians in the past and in the present continue to wield an unsavory and corrupt hand in the management of the company's operation. But where you have now the OWTU entering into an agreement to thoroughly examine the company's operation and to restructure the company to make it sustainable, viable, and profitable, we demand that the government and the politicians keep their corrupt hands out of Petrotrin.
That process.
What?
Does this new development affect that process?
Certainly. Certainly. We have not had an opportunity to examine what is the future, what will be the future of WGTL. But yet still we are seeing the government pressing for putting it in the hands of those who not too long ago they were against. Oh, how can we change? How quick do we change positions?
Mr. President, you made reference to NICON holding an exclusive agreement with regards to obtaining the assets of WTL. Does the OWTU have any information as to who would have signed off on the agreement, one, and when that agreement would have been signed off on?
Well, this is their claim. This is their claim, and this is coming from an article, of course, produced after investigation, and I'm quoting all my sources here. So this is for the lawyers going forward. For all lawyers against their lawyers who want to sue the OWTU. They like a lot of that. So in 2013, June 29th article, news there, NICON has alleged that despite there being an exclusivity agreement in place, that's 2013, so they would have had that agreement in place with the then board of directors and of course supported by the then politicians and government. And I made the point earlier, a point that is worth repeating, that back then the PNM would have criticized this arrangement. Yeah. But it is the same PNM now that is embracing NICON, which NICON would have been unheard of prior to 2012 because NICON Energy Trinidad was established in 2012 to do what? To acquire WGTL. It seems that as WGTL went into one bungle after another, and it failed to get that project completed and to get it going to produce as committed to, as promised. Somebody saw an opportunity and they attempted to make good on that opportunity. And when others were invited to bid, somebody would have gone and taken out an injunction to prevent others from bidding. Now, why all of this? What is the exclusivity agreement? What is that about? Let's ask the question in the interest of country. Certainly is in the interest of Petrotrin. We demand that the Minister of Energy and his short partner, Minister of Finance, and his other short partner, Stuart Young, and their Prime Minister answer these questions as to, is it that you are favoring NICON? What is this arrangement about? What is this exclusivity agreement? Is it that you, as a government, you have committed our gas, cheap gas, or free gas for the operation of this plant? What is the arrangement? And finally, is Petrotrin going to benefit from this? And if so, how? But above and beyond all of that, we want to make the case that we are either involved, sitting at the table, discussing as an equal partner, determining what is the best arrangement for Petrotrin going forward, or we are not part of it. We are not going to be any part of any rubber stamping of any agreement. It's either we are in or we are out. But I will tell you, if we have cause to abandon this agreement on the basis of the government interfering with the arrangement that is put in place for us to contribute to Petrotrin's restructuring, and therefore make Petrotrin successful and viable and profitable, if we have to abandon this agreement, we will do so at a moment's notice. Yeah? But when we do that, we will not just step out quietly and allow them to have their free hand. We will do all that is necessary on the outside to ensure that Petrotrin plan is to sell out Petrotrin in parts, if that is allowed. Theirs is the belief that they will set us up into some kind of arrangement. We have entered into this arrangement for it to be meaningful and successful. We will not accept anything less than that. Keep your hands off of Petrotrin, allow for us to do the work and for the country to benefit. Government, Prime Minister, Minister Stuart Young, and of course, Smiley Franklin Can, Minister of Lease and Farm Out and Sell Out. Keep your hands off of Petrotrin's assets. When all is said and done, you know what they do? They blame the workers. They blame the workers. The workers are not part of this decision. The workers were not part of the decision to involve or to get involved in this WGTL in the first place. As a matter of fact, the workers and their union advised otherwise. It failed. The workers lose their variable pay as a result of this WGTL arrangement. Variable pay to which they were entitled. It was written off against the losses on this particular flight of fancy. Yeah? This cosmetic project that was conceived by one Malcolm Jones and the then Prime Minister and government.
You don't inquire the Petrotrin about this arrangement?
Yeah?
Since this new arrangement?
And we got this information over the weekend. And we think that it is important to put this information out immediately so that the public will know that this pious and sanctimonious quote-unquote government and its Prime Minister, who want everybody to believe that he is more honest than Jesus Christ, that he can do no wrong. We want them to know that he is presiding over a government that is about to go down with a deal that is likened to those deals that he would have condemned when he was in opposition. And that's just one of the deals. Okay? We have a number of other deals that we will talk about at another time. An arrangement, cozy arrangement, questionable arrangement, with the same people that they would have condemned back then. Remember the name? Calco? We'll talk about that at another time. Yeah? We condemn all of them back then, but they're embracing a number of questionable arrangements and so on. We want to say this morning that come clean, government, come clean, Dr. Rowley, come clean, and let the people of Trinidad and Tobago know what is different in 2018 as opposed to 2014. What is different with the same company under the People's Partnership and UNC what is different with that same company under the P&L. Tell us the price that we have to pay. When all is said and done, and they would have departed office, and they are going to depart office, when they would have departed office, make no mistake about it, they are going to depart office. If you get one soundbite today, they are going to depart office sooner or later. When they depart office, it is the workers and the people of Trinidad and Tobago will be left to catch. We want to prevent that from happening from today. Thank you very much.
So the planning, has it ever been completed? And what about salaries the one that President talked to?
But Petrotrin would have incurred all of the liability with respect to that failed plant construction. It incurred all of the liability. And you would have seen where Mr. Harewood would have said that Petrotrin would have taken over the loan, all of the loans with respect to the construction phase of that plant. All of the legal cost and so on, Petrotrin would have incurred debt in that regard. So Petrotrin is standing the bounce for bad decisions made in the past. And here we are at the brink of another bad decision without proper examination and without proper scrutiny. What's the reason why you don't want the Oilfields Workers Trade Union to know exactly what that agreement is? Exactly what is this exclusivity arrangement? But you don't want us to know. Because if we know, we will tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago what is going down. So they are trying to do it hush-hush, quickly in the background, and then make some kind of announcement. As a matter of fact, if you allow them, there wouldn't be any announcement at all. At all. Did you hear anything about this in the Parliament recently or any otherwise? Absolutely not. Because it is about themselves to themselves. We are not of that ilk. We are for the workers and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, thank you very much for coming to cover this first installment in this very, very important and critical issue at this stage of Petrotrin's history. And imagine that we would not be engaging in those type of underhand or questionable arrangements. But at this stage, we are still continuing. All right. Thank you very much.
So, OJ, we off record now.